Hello again, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news, back quote-unquote live as we head towards Memorial Day weekend. Now, normally this week I would worry about it's a little slow. It is not slow at all. Sarah Silverman has a special out on Netflix today and did a ton of press, which I'll cover. And then on Saturday, Gerard Carmichael, and then on Monday, Mike Birbiglia have specials. So there will be plenty to talk about, especially next week can be tough, but hopefully those two extra specials will get us through it. And I've already put a bunch of stuff away for Monday and Tuesday of next week. So I am hopeful. This week I can already tell you is busy. I've worked on half the scripts. Let's jump in. As I mentioned, Sarah Silverman did a ton of press. She is the guest on at least two podcasts. She did Conan O'Brien's podcast, which I listened to this morning. I didn't last long. They were just shucking jokes. Perfectly entertaining, perfectly funny. Do I have my phone on me? Hold on. Let me tell you how many things I have on my phone. So right now on my phone, I have 130 podcasts downloaded, which is a low number for me. I consume a lot of content. So Sarah and Conan, it's fine. You should listen to it. There's just too much for me to consume. Maron also had Sarah on. That is a quote-unquote real interview, and I thought very compelling. So if you're only going to listen to one, pick the Maron one. Sarah had spoken to John Mulaney last week about her irregular sleep cycle, and she says, I love sleep, and I sleep like maybe 2 hours, and then I get up a little, and then I sleep another 2 hours, and then get up a little. Mulaney was curious if she has a routine before bed. Sarah said, I sure do. You want to hear it? Well, I wash my face, and I use obviously many serums and oils and creams, and then I floss my teeth, and I'll be honest, I do it in front of one of those big magnifying mirrors. I want to see everything come out, and then, forgive me, John, then I take a little pufferoo, and then I brush my teeth. Mulaney was curious why dental hygiene and marijuana are paired. Silverman said, because I floss and then I don't want to brush my teeth and then get high because, that's not good for your breath, that disgusting smoke. I can floss while high, but then I do it for about 20 minutes. She was on a radio show and talked about her relationship with Pam Anderson and told Andy Cohen, I will tell you something about Pam Anderson, who I think does not care for me, which I was surprised by. Sarah was at a big, fancy Hollywood gala that they have every year. She went as Sacha Baron Cohen's date. Sarah explained. So I went. She was there, and of course, he's got that connection from Borat with her, and I had roasted her, and I was on that show VIP. She looks at me, and she goes, oh, yeah, you told horrible jokes about me on my roast. And then she turned around and left, and I was like, my heart is broken. The joke on the roast, which I will paraphrase, because we try and keep it clean here. You know what a lot of people say? Oh, Pamela Anderson wouldn't be anywhere without her breasts. And that's not true. She'd be Paris Hilton. Sarah went on a different radio show and said, Conan O'Brien was the best thing for me. It was his first year on late night on my first and only year at SNL, and he put me on all the time, even after I was fired all the time, and that was the start for me. And I wouldn't have been able to be on Conan without SNL, and it was an incredible kind of boot camp experience. She explains being on SNL was so magical, so amazing, but there was also something about it where they just have this energy that puts you in your place when you feel like you're a piece of crap. The anxiety, it's very hard to be zen and chill there. Andy Samberg did that whole piece about the anxiety of doing something for SNL. It was very honest. I thought a lot of people connected to it that were there. We all felt like losers for some reason. I was totally thrown for a loop when I was fired because it never occurred to me that was possible, but I think it's definitely for the best. Sarah did a lengthy interview with Rolling Stone, which I shared in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group. She talked about, not for the first time, being regretful about some of the racist stuff she did in her past. Sarah explains, I felt like the temperature of the world around me at the time was like, we're all liberals, so we can say the N-word. We aren't racist, so we can say this derogatory stuff. I was playing a character that was ignorant, so I thought, okay, looking back, my intentions were always good, but they were effing ignorant. Rolling Stone then skips ahead to, in 2022, Dave Chappelle did an SNL monologue riffing on anti-Semitic social media posts by Kanye West and NBA star Kyrie Irving. On her podcast, Sarah described Chappelle's monologue as hilarious and brilliant and winning and wildly anti-Semitic. Silverman played a clip from the monologue. The clip, Chappelle says, I know that Jewish people have been through terrible things all over the world, but you can't blame them on black Americans. You just can't. Sarah chimes in and says, he's kind of like Jimmy Stewart stutters at the end to give a little folksy truth-telling charm. But the idea that calling out massively influential zillionaire superstars for posting lies and promoting hatred of Jews is the Jews blaming their troubles on black Americans is effing insane. I can't believe I have to say this. Sarah Silverman, new special on Netflix today. Saturday Night Live. I thought the finale, best episode of the season, which is great. Maybe there was one better, there weren't a lot better, but it was really, really strong all the way through the second musical act. Then it kind of fell off a cliff. But really strong. Also of note, Was Scarlett Johansson in every sketch, which is pretty impressive for a guest host, because you'll get somebody like Chappelle who appears in, 2 sketches maybe. I think Scarlett was in all of them. She was fantastic. But what everybody's talking about is who's leaving. Late Nighter read the tea leaves. I think I agree with them here. They wrote, there were some signs that at least one high-profile cast member intends to leave. That cast member is Bowen Yang, who got as close to a goodbye sketch as anyone, with Bowen still straight. The Good Nights offered further hints that maybe Yang is in fact leaving. In the Good Nights, which were cut off on the live broadcast, I watched the Hulu version on Sunday, which had the complete Good Nights, but yeah, they cut off in the middle of the Good Nights. What are you doing, NBC? Anyway, in the Good Nights, you see a tearful Bowen Yang and fellow cast member Sarah Sherman embracing for a full 20 seconds. Later, Yang and Ego Nwodim share what looks to be a meaningful hug. Late Nighter also points out the fact that Gardner, Day, and Yang stood together at the top of Good Nights with their arms around each other. Could mean they're just good friends. Or maybe they're leaving. I was watching the tea leaves as well. I couldn't even find Michael Che in the Good Nights. Jost came out and gave his wife, Scarlett Johansson, some flowers and then walked off. He didn't seem emotional in the Good Nights, although during Weekend Update, I thought he was getting choked up at one point, was working hard to keep his composure. We'll see. And I know Bowen recently had given that quote that he wasn't leaving, but his body language to me makes me think he's leaving. We'll see. Plenty to talk about all summer. Speaking of Colin Jost, he will join the cast of The Breadwinner. That's the Nate Bargatze movie. Will Forte, Colin, and Kumail Nanjiani are all in The Breadwinner. In The Breadwinner, Nate Bargatze's character's life is turned upside down when his supermom wife lands a deal on Shark Tank. Nate becomes a stay-at-home dad and quickly realizes he's way in over his head. Hilarity ensues. Marcelo Hernandez, who does one thing really well, is going to be in a movie with Kevin Hart, who does one thing really well. The movie is called 72 Hours. I'll talk a little bit about that more tomorrow. Kevin Hart will play a 40-something executive who hopes to save his flailing career by joining a group of 20-somethings on a wild bachelor party weekend. An opportunity the Kevin Hart character seizes on after inadvertently getting added to a group text. Marcelo Hernandez, who does one thing really well, will play the groom's best man and official bachelor party captain. More SNL. Chevy Chase will be the subject of a new documentary from CNN Films. It's called I'm Chevy Chase and You're Not. Chase is involved with it. CNN describes it as authorized yet unfiltered. Chase, in his own statement, said, I understand CNN's going to release a documentary about me. I'm delighted, and I hope I'm in it. I didn't see any update on the Theo Von alleged bar fight that I told you about yesterday, but New York Magazine wrote, is Theo Von Trump's new sidekick? Apparently, Theo Von made an appearance that ruffled some feathers. The president and Theo Von were at a U.S. air base in Qatar last Thursday. You may recall Trump was on Theo's podcast. He described the podcast appearance to the crowd of 8,000 troops and told them, we had a good time. Trump then goofed on the 4 stars leading the military and the, quote, freaking losers who doubted Trump's military strategy. The president added, we don't care if you're politically correct. Theo Von was the warm-up act. He joked, where do you think the next 9/11 should happen? Joked that there was no crime in Qatar because everyone is named Mohammed and everyone dresses in, quote, Ku Klux Sandman robes. Theo called the Navy gay. Reports are the jokes drew some laughter and some groans from the people in the audience. Send your letters to Theo Von and the president. As I mentioned, I always listen back to my own podcast to make sure I didn't make a mistake. Sometimes I make a mistake and I have to go back and re-upload it. I think I made one last week one day. Yeah, maybe Thursday or so. The opening music was a little low and I had to go back in. So I was listening back to myself and it really registered with me that on the all-time comedian list, having Amy Schumer on those lists at all, it's just insane. Maybe if we get 100 down, sure, but like a top 10, top 15, to have Amy Schumer in an all-time comedian list is insane. Now, as I thought about it more, she may have an all-time sketch, her 12 Angry Men sketch, sure. Maybe if we make a list of the all-time sketches, Amy might be pretty far up there with that one, so props to that sketch. But as a comedian, I mean, what's her signature bit? What's her signature body of work? It doesn't exist. And if we're going to do like all-time sketch things, are we going to put Amy's work ahead of, say, I don't know, Kids in the Hall? No. Not being anti-Amy, but let's just rank everybody properly. As I mentioned, I had 4 episodes on tape, as they say in the business. So I didn't get to share this one with you, but I had noticed on Thursday, all of a sudden, Kevin Hart canceled a bunch of shows, including one for Friday night. I'm speculating that maybe the movie popped up and that's why he canceled the ones in the summer. But to cancel one for the next night is a little weird. Did a Google of Kevin Hart. Nothing came up. We'll keep an eye on that one. On Gossip Corner, Ali Wong was spotted at the Chase Center for the Golden Skate Valkyries' first ever WNBA regular season opener on Friday night. Beth Stelling abruptly canceled her Saturday night shows at the Kennedy Center. Now, that news also popped up on Thursday. Look, you be you, but to cancel a show, 36 hours before, I'm assuming it is a political statement. But there was nothing new. You could have canceled your shows 2 months ago. So just show up for your fans, like Kamau Bell did. Show up for your fans. Also, I know people who work at the Kennedy Center. Canceling your show and taking away the revenue of the business of the Kennedy Center, that is not helpful. You're actually hurting the people who work there. So do the show, and while you have the microphone, say your piece. I don't think canceling the show at the Kennedy Center is the right thing to do, Beth Stelling. But whatever, you be you. Also on Gossip Corner, the LA Times had reported a 3-day pause in operations due to lack of permitting for a new barbecue venture from Anthony Anderson and Cedric the Entertainer. But good news, the barbecue place had reopened Friday afternoon. AC Barbecue. You'll find AC Barbecue in the Westfield Century City Mall's dining hall. They had their grand opening May 7th, but got shut down last Tuesday. The L.A. County Department of Public Health said the barbecue had opened without approval or permit. But it seems everything is cool now. Well, that's good. And that is your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the show, please tell a friend about it. If you would like the program without commercial interruption, for $5 a month, you can get this one and 5 Good News Stories, which I also host, and a bunch of others on the network, ad-free. $5 a month is a great way to support the show. You can also support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. There is some money in the tip jar. I'll take your money and I will go to the National Donuts chain. I've been getting large iced coffee with pistachio has been my jam. They cycle of flavors in and out. I don't know if pistachio is seasonal, in which case it's probably about to go away and then I will miss it and I'll go back to caramel. But digging my pistachio iced coffees in the morning. So buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. If you're discovering the show on YouTube, help the old guy out. Subscribe, like, ring the bell, all that YouTube stuff that the kids do. And I'll see you here tomorrow.